Alright, so we are in Siofra River to gather upgrade materials to upgrade our new spirit summon Lutel the Headless, who we picked up a couple episodes ago. And this will be our final episode of this journey as we head to take out Margit the Fell, because at the end of this episode, we will fell Margit. So yeah, gonna run around on horseback for the most part underneath Siofra here, which in general is a very, very pretty area filled with annoying ass snipers that we're going to do our best not to get shot by. But what we're looking for is Ghost Gloveworts. So we had already upgraded Lutel once. We'd found a Ghost Glovewort one somewhere along the ways. And so we're going to look at all these little white plants here. There's another Ghost Gloveworts one, which we don't need. But we're going to look for Ghost Gloveworts 2 through 5 are all in this area. Now, named Spirit Ashes like Lutel, they actually cap out at 10. So the fact that you can get her up to level 5, which is like halfway through her progression just by running through this area, is kind of nuts. And you don't really have to fight any of the content. You can just kind of run by on your horses and pick all these little Ghost Gloveworts up. It's kind of nice. So we rode past some mud dudes, claymen, and took an elevator up. There's going to be a little site of grace over here. Alas, that Glovewort's a Ghost Glovewort one as well. We're going to tag this little site of grace here and then continue on our way. There's the large temple-y sort of thing ahead that's got the pillars in front of it. There's a boss in there. Well, you have to light all the pillars on fire to open up the boss. We're not going to do that here today. That's a come back into it later. And we're going to keep running around here looking for... I think there's a Glovewort in this area. I always get them mixed up with the melted mushrooms from afar. And there's our Ghost Glovewort 2. So our next upgrade for Lutel is right there. Kind of randomly riding around here till I get to a spirit spring. I'm going to hop up this spirit spring to where there's like this crumbling giant causeway through the sky here. And right there, we get our Ghost Glovewort 3. And now we're going to do something that is essentially curiosity getting the better of me. And I'm just going to kind of continue exploring in this area that is just dripping in gravity. So there are other random kind of goodies on this little causeway thing. I forget what they are. So I'm kind of like, hey, is that going to be worth getting? And kind of like just gradually dropping down a little bit at a time to go and see what splendors Miyazaki has hidden for us in the middle of this death trap. This is one of those cases where I kind of wish I had some rainbow stones to drop down to all these different things and see, is that a death level height drop or not? But we're just going to go for it on our good buddy Torrent here, and we make that one safely. Running back to check to see if there's anything in here. This area, I think this is one of the moments when I fell in love with Elden Ring, was exploring this area. Now I kind of hate the archers more than I love the scenery. But it was just like, on my first playthrough of the game, it was like this amazing, wonderful exploration to kind of go through here. So on the map, I marked kind of a pillar where we're going to go next. And we're going to use this spirit spring to leap up. And right about there, I'm like, oh, that was a bad idea. And then, just fuck. I made it through all the fun little drop downs on the causeway. And then the stupid spirit spring does me in. I think that's our second spirit spring death in this run through. These things that are supposed to be like, oh, you don't die, it's a spirit spring, you can jump as high as you want. Yeah, They should call them murder springs or something like that. I don't know. They're just not as intuitive as they should be. So doing a bit of a run back here to grab my wonderful runes and get those and pick those up. So back up on the causeway and trying my best not to die a second time here on these kind of vertigo-inducing ledges. And we almost kicked the bucket there. But continuing to drop down. And when I get back down there with Torrent to pick up my runes, I am not going to risk the Spirit Spring again, ever. And we're just going to warp back to the Site of Grace here and call it a day. So I'd marked kind of like a toppled over pillar sort of thing that we're going to have to climb up. And there's a teleporter at the top of that that'll take us to where the Glovewort 4 and 5 are. But we're going to avoid all these glowing blue will-o-wisps. Their electricity attacks really, really suck. Especially because, you know, they're over water, which makes it double suck. But we've got our marker. We're going to run by all these guys. Hopefully not get snipered by the arrows of awfulness too bad. And hopefully not get caught on deer too often. But yeah, the blue ghost guys, they're pretty, but the ones with archers are awful. And later on, the ones that aren't ghosts and have those same bows in Lair Near the Lakes are also awful. This is going to suck right there. Right in the head. So yeah, these guys can pretty close to one-shot me here. That arrow looks awesome in my head, by the way. I love it. So yeah, this teleporter I was talking about. This is going to teleport us to the top of this whole, like, river area. And up here, kind of at the top of, there's like a little waterfall thing here. The Ghost Gloveworts 4 is down there, so we'll kind of run down a little ramp to get to that little waterfall-y sort of area and pick it up. It's somewhere down in there. And we will grab that. There's the Ghost Gloveworts 4. Now we're going to ride up the ramp, and there's a large lake up here that has a boss that will thoroughly one-shot us if we go near it. It's a Dragonkin soldier. We're going to avoid the boss. We're just going to tuck back into a corner over here, which if you engage the boss, you can run back into the corner to basically break aggro off of him. But in the corner in between kind of like the crumbling temple and the cliff face back here is the Ghost Gloveworts 5. And we can use that. There it is. And we can use that to upgrade our Lutel the Headless to level 5, which is going to take a ton of runes. So back at Round Table Hold, I take a glance at my runes, see that I'm close to leveling up, but I'm not going to level up. I'm going to basically go to Hugh, sell a bunch of stuff, kind of just fast forwarded through that and edited it out for the most part. And what I'm going to do first is I'm going to upgrade my Morningstar. We had picked up a lot of those Smithing Stone 2s in Castle Morn and a couple other places, so we're going to upgrade our Morningstar, and we're now going to start using that as our primary weapon. Then we're going to talk to Roderica, and we are going to see about upgrading Lutel, and this gets real expensive really quick. So upgrade him once, then back to Hugh to sell more stuff in the inventory. Again, kind of edit that out a little bit. And we're going to go and see how much further we can upgrade him. Upgrade him to level 3, level 4, Still not enough to upgrade her to level 5, so back to Hugh, sell more stuff, fast forward and edit away until all that stuff is sold, go back to Roderica, and Lutel the Headless is now at +5. So now I'm going back to basically put that Grafted Blade Greatsword in my secondary weapon slot, so I can swap to that and use that as needed. But at this point, we are going to go hunt down some bosses. So before taking down Margit, I do want to get up a few more levels here, and there are a bunch of overland bosses we haven't challenged yet in Limgrave and the Weeping Peninsula. So I've teleported back to where the first dick on a horse is when you get outside to take him out. And I get out my Grafted Blade Greatsword to use it as a wand to buff everything. And I start using its Ash of War, and it's not doing anything. And then I notice there's the little red X above the sword. And I thought I did all the math right on two-handing it and making sure I had enough strength to use this thing, and it's not working. And then I go back and I double-check the requirements for using said sword. I mean, the Scar Seal's adding +3 to all my attributes. Then I go look at it, it's like, oh, it's not just strength. I need dexterity too, and my dexterity is only at 13 instead of 14. So I can't quite use the Grafted Blade Greatsword until I get one more level up and level up my dexterity. So, resting for a second to reset everything. Not going to be able to use the Grafted Blade Greatsword here, but I can at least still use my Flask of Wondrous Physic and Blood Flame Blade. You have to get off Torrent to actually cast Blood Flame Blade on your weapon. It's kind of annoying. We're going to try and do a horse versus horse battle against Dick on a Horse. So we're buffed up with our Wondrous Physic and Blood Flame Blade, and we're just going to start kind of kiting him. And I have never actually used the Morning Star from horseback, and I am used to using the Lord's Sworn Greatsword at this point, so I'm really misjudging the reach against this guy. And man, do I have to get close with this thing to kind of hit him here. So this is not really a good horseback weapon, is what I would say. And I didn't really think this through particularly well before deciding on this tactic, but we're going to roll with it against him and some other bosses here. And there's the peril of using doing horseback fighting, is that Torrent is kind of a bit of a softie and can get one shot real easy. And there we get 2 one-shots back to back, and as we're recovering our stance from Torrent running away like a coward, we die, which was a little unexpected because I'm really overleveled for that guy and I expected that to be a piece of cake, but it's okay. So revive at the Site of Grace to try this all over again. Buff up our weapon with Blood Flame Blade, drink our Flask of Wondrous Physic, and I'm going to be stubborn and go about this in exactly the same way. See if the second time goes well. Inauspicious start as he hits me before I've hit him. And then I whiff, and Torrent takes a hit, so not the best start. But we're going to keep swinging away anyways. So, even though we're not doing a ton of damage with each hit, this is building up blood loss, and eventually we will get a blood loss proc in there, and we'll just see the big chunk of health bar go off at some point, hopefully. And by hopefully, I know it happens. Just not sure exactly when. Because this guy is not immune to blood loss. Seems like one of those guys who might be, but he is not. And Blood Flame Blade there we go. There's the blood proc right there. Blood Flame Blade has now run out, which is a little unfortunate. So I dismount, reapply that, and he whiffs because he sucks too sometimes. And then he kills my horse because I taunted him, so I kind of deserved that, and I don't know how I dodged that, but I did. Thought it was going to be a repeat of the first round there, but we got really lucky. So there's going to be a lot of this sort of kiting fighting in this episode as I take down these overland bosses here. I know fighting on horseback isn't for everyone in this game. I do it as a change-up. And I almost die here. I'm so close to death. It's amazing. Amazing come from behind victory here. And amazing use of the iframes of mounting turret there to not get killed there too. So good. So not terrible at this game. Here we bust out the Spirit Calling Bell to see how that goes. Not much better, frankly. He keeps reflecting them at me. That's called desperation, when you bust out the Spirit Calling Bell. It did make me lose Bloodflame Blade too, which is very sad. But we got him. Only took 2 tries. Should have only taken 1 at this level, but it's fine. He drops a golden halberd. I've never actually used halberds. Well, actually, I think I tried like the Banished Knight's halberd in my first ever playthrough. Didn't really care for it. A little too slow for what they do, I guess is my feeling on halberds. They're not cool enough for as slow as they are. Something's going to be slow, it better do something extra special. So yeah, back at Merchant Calais here and selling a bunch of golden runes. Still think I'd been gathering all these golden runes through this playthrough for this moment to upgrade all my gear and upgrade Lutel. And now I can start leveling up here. So now we get our dexterity up to 11 with the +3 from the Radagon's Scar or Sourceal. I always mix up which one it is. Now I can two-hand, not the Morningstar, I can two-hand the grafted sword, and if I drink my potion now, and I use the Ash of War on that, now I can use that Ash of War, which buffs all my attributes by 5, which is really, really good. Okay, so now that we are able to use our Grafted Blade Greatsword, we are going to go do something in a manner in which I have never tried it before. So we go back to the Weeping Peninsula, and there's the minor Erdtree up ahead here. We're going to ride up there, and we are going to try and take down the Erdtree Avatar guy there. He drops the, some of the crystal tears to put in our Wondrous Physic. I think he drops the health regen one, which is the one we're going to be using for a little while anyways, alongside our Strength Knot tier. And I'm going to try something new here. So usually, when I fight these Erdtree avatars, I either stay on Torrent and use ranged attacks from really far away, which works really well, or I get down on foot and I fight them from foot with melee, which also works reasonably well. I mean, ranged from horseback is, you know, probably the easiest way to do it, for me anyways. I'm going to try melee from horseback here, which it's going to be a learning experience, that it's not necessarily the best tactic against everybody here. But to prep for this fight, we're going to drink our Wondrous Physic. We are going to buff up with our Oath of Vengeance from the Grafted Blade Greatsword. We're going to put fire on our Morningstar because it's a plant and plants hate fire. And then we're going to summon Lutel the Headless, and we're going to be ready to die. So, I'm curious about how well Bloodflame Blade is going to do on this guy. I think he's immune to bleed, but it's fire. So I'm like, is this going to do decent damage? So I'm going to try kiting around it. I get caught up on pots, and it's just a bad place to be on a horse. Let's just put it that way. Yeah. For a horse in this area, these pots are terrible. So yeah, that was very, very quick and sad because I ran into pots on my horse. Not Torrent's fault that time. Not Torrent being a weakling. That was just bad driving on my part. So back at the Stake America, buffing up with everything, and I'm gonna try this again. Now, this is really kind of dumb of me, the way I'm kind of going about this. I have fire pots. I'm a spellcaster. I have fire spells. I'm not using them. I'm just using Bloodflame Blade here. So I run in there, and again, inauspicious start to this. Trying to take this guy out with a weapon that I am not quite used to using against this particular boss. And as you can note, I don't like dodging. I'm just going to face, well, it's not true face tanking. But I'm just going to, ignore any most attempts to dodge here. And just hope for the best. Outlast him with flasks and other assorted healing. So we're whipping at him with wild strikes and fire attacks here. To try and melt through him. Lutel's doing a pretty good job there. You can see Lutel has barely taken any damage. And that's because Lutel is upgraded to that +5 level, which is pretty powerful relative to the Erdtree Avatar here. The Bloodflame Blade has worn off, but I've gotten enough health down where it's not too bad to take him down the rest of the way. Like I said, these guys either ranged from on Torrent or just going up in melee. They're not too bad to take out. And there we get the Crimson Burst Crystal Tears, the one that I wanted there. That's going to be used to give us regen. So we're going to hop back, and we are going to go... Which boss are we going to go to next? Well, we're going to go to the Church of Ella next, apparently. And at the Church of Ella, we're going to replace our stamina crystal tier with that health regen one. And we are going to head down next to the Weeping Peninsula. Now, there was something I forgot to record here. There's kind of a bit of an awkward cut there to the Weeping Peninsula. And after my fight with the, the plant guy there, I went back to Roundtable Hold, and I bought one of the fire spells. I think it's called Flames Sling, just because I've never actually tried it out. And I'm like, oh, I probably should have used that against him in that fight. So I'm going to go here and get another spell slot is what I'm going to do. I've only got 2 spell memorization slots right now, and it's Heal and Bloodflame Blade, so I'm going to pick up a 3rd one so I can chuck a ranged spell in there as well. So from the merchant, I wrote up a Spirit Spring, got a empty corpse of a tortoise, and now we're going up to the front of this Tower Oridus' Rise. We're going to read the sign at the beginning, and then we have to kill 3 ghost turtles. So a lot of these seek out 3 wise beast puzzles in the game. I usually remember where 2 of them are, and then it takes me forever to remember where the 3rd one is. There's a lot of wolves around this cave as well. So that turtle shield that I picked up on the ride up here, I've never actually used it, but it's actually kind of interesting. I don't think it has 100% physical absorption, but it gives you stamina regen as a passive, which is kind of cool. There's an invisible tortoise in the lake. I remember him because it's invisible, and you tend to remember the one that's cheating. But yeah, there's always the 3rd turtle at every single one of these puzzles. I can never remember where it is. So I'm kind of riding around it's always really close. Is usually what gets me in. Is it's right next to the tower or something in some stupidly close area, and I'm like, oh, it's going to be far away, and it'll be right next to the tower or something. So I'm kind of just circling around here, hoping I eventually lock onto it without getting, drawn into too much of a conflict with the wolves here. And based on the music changing, the wolves are not pleased with me. So someday, I will actually remember where all these frickin' tortoises are. Because in my brain, it was the one that was right behind me. And I summoned it, I'm like, is that the close one? And is the other one far away? Or is it, or is there two that are really close here? Meanwhile, distracted by wolves. The wolves distract Torrent too. Torrent's afraid. It's very afraid and runs away. Yeah. There he is, right next to the staircase. I knew he was like right close to the entrance. But anyways, that's the third turtle slash tortoise. So we're going to climb up to the top here. And there's several of these puzzle towers throughout the game. Most of them have the same treasure at the top of them that this one has, which is a memory stone, which you don't have to equip it or anything. You just pick these guys up. And then you can memorize a extra spell at a site of grace when you are resting there. Now, in my first playthrough of the game, I thought that having tons of spells was super important, and I made sure to gather every single one of these, and I would literally fill up my entire spell list slot with every spell I could get my hands on. I have since outgrown that, and find that having a few less spells is more manageable. So yeah, I went back to the Site of Grace there, added Flame Sling, which is the one I bought, into my spell list. And now we're going to go try and take down some more bosses. So went back to the Agheel Lake North Site of Grace, wait until nighttime, and we're going to take out some night bosses. So we're going to head back. There's the bridge you head towards to get to the funeral procession. And there's going to be a Night Rider that shows up at night here. This is going to be a pretty similar fight to the Dick on a horse from the beginning of the game. There are a bunch of these like little soldiers here, though. I don't want them messing up our fun. So we're going to make sure to clear those out just so that, you know, you're not in the middle of combat and one of those little assholes with a dagger comes up and starts stabbing you left and right. So there's the Night Rider. We're going and we're buffing up. And we're going to give this a shot here. And I'm actually trying to use Flame Sling here at first. You know, this guy isn't particularly vulnerable to fire. I just have never used this. I want to give it a shot. And it is very slow and has very poor tracking, is what I am noticing using it here. So after like 3 casts of it, I'm like, I'm kind of done with that. It was probably would have been great against the tree guy because he's vulnerable to fire and all that. And he's very big and slow moving, but against this kind of like faster guy, not so much. So we're going to get Blood Flame Blade up and we are going to try and take this little horsey guy out. The thing with these horsey guys is they have both a health bar for them and a health bar for their horse. The little Erdtree Sentinel guy, his horse didn't have its own health bar. But these Night Rider, these Knights Calvary guys, you can kill their horses, which basically is how you stance break them. So if you're doing these kind of like low swings against them, if you just drag through, you're mostly hitting the horse, but if you do the upswing, you can usually hit both the horse and the rider, which is a good way to stance break these guys. You can see his horse is near death, and there we go. Stance break. You have to hop off your horse. They're really quick on terms of recovering their stance. So you'll note I just went straight into Wild Strikes mode there, and that probably did more damage than a critical hit would have done. Or at least I think so. It's one of those things that Wild Strikes is really good at, is when you stance break someone, you're in a lot of cases better off hitting with Wild Strikes than you are actually going for the crit. Although I should say it's mostly true with a status build-up weapon, because you'll be building up, you know, Blood Loss or Frostbite or whatever while you're doing that. But yeah, this guy, we're having an easier time against him than we did on the Erdtree Sentinel. So we're just kind of swooping around him, and one more hit ought to do it here. And there we go. Enemy felled. He drops an Ash of War that is probably very similar to Wild Strikes. I've never used it, but I imagine on like a blood loss stabby weapon, that's kind of what you want to do. Now there's another one of these guys. So we went back to the Castle Morn Rampart Site of Grace, and there's another Knight Rider here. It is more of the same, where we're going to try and just take him out on horseback. Kill his horse to get stance breaks, hit him when he's down, and go from there. I'm probably just going to let this fight play, though, because it's pretty similar to the last one. You'll note I did the same thing there when I finally stance broke him and went with Wild Strikes instead of going for a crit. It works really well against a lot of enemies to use Wild Strikes when they're stance broken instead of actually going in and trying to get a crit. Just like the first guy, we took him down on the first try. He is dropping Barricade Shield and the Knight Rider Flail. I think the Knight Rider Flail does Blood Loss build up. Not too sure. One of the other 50 million weapons I've never used. Barricade Shield is interesting. I think it boosts the guard boost on a shield, so it makes it so you lose a lot less stamina. I never like using Ashes of War on shields, though. So it's like, I feel like I would have to put my shield away a lot to two-hand my main hand to use my weapon, Ash of War. So I usually go with no Ash of War on my shields, even though supposedly it's really good. Like, if you want to be a shield guy, it's probably great. Shields are always a complement to my build, and I've never done a focus shield build. I should try it sometime, though. Maybe next playthrough, I'll do that. Now we're going to go take out another night boss in this area. A Deathbird, one of the lesser Deathbirdy guys. They're both I forget what the greater Deathbirds are called. The bigger ones. Are they Gravebirds? I forget. No, the Gravebirds are made of things from Shadow of the Erdtree. So Flamesling works pretty nice on bats. trying it out on this guy here too. I know these guys are super weak to Holy, so, you know, towards the end game when you get things like Discus of Light and Golden Land, those are both great on these guys. The Fire Spell, not so much. This is another case where, like the Erdtree Avatar, I've never tried taking these guys out on horseback melee before. So I'm kind of trying that out and seeing how it goes. And it is similarly not going that great, kind of like the Erdtree Avatar. Range spells from horseback, great against these guys. Melee from horseback, not so good. But you gotta try new things out in this game. Otherwise, if you're just replaying the same way over and over again, what's the point? So he actually gets very close to killing me there with this horseback nonsense that I'm trying out here. Actually shocked that Torrent hasn't died quite yet. Thankfully this guy doesn't actually do that much damage, so even though he's hitting me a fair amount, it's not really doing much. And I'm resorting to the Spirit Caller Bell, which you can... This, even though it does so little damage, is surprisingly effective against a ton of enemies, because even though each individual one doesn't do much damage, they track so well, and they have such a long range that they barely ever miss. And it's kind of funny, to be honest with you, to just be sitting here ringing this bell from horseback and watching this stream of wraiths go in. Fun fact, in my first playthrough of the game, back when Star Scourge Radahn was kind of hardish, this is how I beat Star Scourge Radahn, as I was running around letting all the NPC summons kill him, and then I just took him out with the bell, like circling away from afar. It was kind of awesome to be on this like giant battlefield running around on a horse, and you just see like this constant line of those bell things coming to get him. But yeah, the bell is actually really good in certain niche boss cases where you can stay away on horseback and fire away with it, because it is really cheap, even though it doesn't do a lot of damage. But yeah, killing him got us enough to level up, and we're going a little bit into Faith here. I don't actually need Faith against Margit, but Faith will be the next thing I would actually be leveling up. Like, in a normal playthrough, getting Faith to that level 17 is pretty important, because then when you get your second talisman slot, you can get the +5 Faith talisman, and that lets you use Frenzied Burst, which is the best sniper cannon in the game. When I talk about like taking bosses down from horseback, like those Erdtree Avatars, get on a horse and just, you know, stay far away and fire away with them using Frenzied Burst, and they're an absolute joke. So we warped back to the War Master's shack here, talking to Bernal for a little bit. And there is another one of the Nightbirds in this area. We're going to go ahead and take him out while we're here, just to assert our dominance over the, you know, undead avian subspecies that inhabits the lands between. So that grave bird is hanging out in the area with all the trolls where we had broken a statue to get a bunch of smithing stones. He shows up there at night. The Deathbirds, like the Night Riders, are night-only enemies, which I think is a nice touch in this game to have the night-only enemies. I think... Were there any in Shadow of the Erdtree? I think even like the Deathbird, the big Deathbird in like, was it Charo's Hidden Grave? Does he show up in the daytime? I vaguely remember fighting him in the daytime. I don't know if there's night bosses in Shadow of the Erdtree now that I think about it. I know there's like the larval tears that show up at night. Yeah. So this guy I'm kind of going straight to the Balon until I We'll run through my mana reserves here. Sorry, FP. FP/mana/magica. I can never keep my game straight here. Should be universally agreed upon thing. No one cares about your flavor text for the blue bar in the game. Just call it mana. We all know what it is. But I use it for Ashes of War. I'm not a magician. Yeah, I don't care. Anyways. So, apparently trying to give melee a shot on this guy. It does not go well. And I'm fat rolling because I'm carrying that frickin' heavy sword. And this weapon is so short that I can't reach his bony little noggin with it. Drawbacks of the Morning Star. It is short. And lacks sufficient reach to get the job done, leaving everyone unsatisfied. So you kind of really got to get on top of this guy with the Morning Star, apparently, to hit him. But stand underneath him and he can't hit you either. So I guess as a strategy, it works out all right. He drops one of those branch swords. I think those are like you're on the verge of death and you do something better. Like one gives you better defense and one gives you better attack. I don't know which one that is. I don't want to be on the verge of death. So I'm not going to be using that anytime soon. And while he's not the last overland boss in the area, because fuck the Crucible Knight and fuck the Night boss who shows up at the War Master's shack, we're going to take out, I feel like doing one last little thing before taking out Margit here. So we're going to go kill us a dragon. Every time I've kind of come through this lake earlier in the game, I say stick to the edges to avoid where there's kind of like the sacrifice going on in the middle there. Well, now is the time to trigger that sacrifice and take out the boss here. This guy is not that bad. We're pretty kind of over leveled for this area. So we should have a pretty easy time with this little dragon here. And Lutel is, again, pretty handy against the dragon because the dragon, it tends to play keep away, and Lutel has ranged attacks that work pretty well against him. So here we see the nighttime swoop down of the dragon as he kills all the people trying to summon sacrifices for him or whatnot. And we're just going to get up on his ankles and start smashing away with wild strikes. And I apparently forgot to do Blood Flame Blade. That's okay. We'll be okay. When he swoops down at you, hop up on Torrent into the air to kind of dodge those attacks. And head towards the fire to get underneath him there. That was the best I could hope for there. Him perched on the cliff looks awesome. Breathing fire from down there. I don't know if I've actually seen him do that exact fire attack from being up on the cliff. But yeah, the dragon fights in this game can be pretty cool. You know, there are a lot of them, so to a certain extent they lose their luster by the end of the game. But every now and then you see something like that and it's like, I'm not sure I've actually seen that before. But this guy does fire, so we are not going to use our fire attack against him. He can actually outdistance the Wraith Calling Bells, though, which is... He moves so far over the battlefield that he can actually get out of range there. If he breathes fire at you, head straight to the side on Torrent, and you'll usually get out of the way of it. At this point, I am kind of pretty much out of FP. So it's just going to be kind of standard attacks from here. And once again, you'll note that our fully leveled up Lutel the Headless is barely taking any damage from this guy. So we're just getting behind him, and we're just swinging away at his ankles. And we get him on the first try as well. Great enemy felled. Take that, Dragon Boy. And back at the Church of Ella, we have enough runes where we can level up again. And we are going to level up to 34. And this time we are going to put it into dexterity. Dexterity at 12 is a prerequisite for wielding a Great Stars. If you plan on going down that road, that's if you look at my Bad at Elden Ring build, that's kind of the main weapon that I use there in that particular build. So dexterity 12 is good for a lot of things. So doing a last rash of selling stuff at Santa Claus there, and that gets me up to enough runes to level up one last time. So we're going to rest at a site of grace for the last time before taking up Margit, and we are going to get up vigor to 19. And now we're up at Stormveil for the approach to Margit the Fell. So this is, I hope people have enjoyed this series. I hope it's been helpful for people who maybe if you're having a hard time in the early areas, the kind of key takeaway of all this is take your time before you get to the harder bosses. There's tons to explore in this game, and enjoy it. Don't just, do it because it's, making you more powerful. Like, soak in this game is my advice to you. And do it slowly so that you enjoy this world. And becoming more powerful is just a side effect of that. And I lied. We've rested a site of grace one more time here. Just removing Flame Sling for no apparent reason, because I know it sucks. No, actually having shorter spell list is actually better when you don't want to make mistakes. There's a NPC summon sign here. Don't summon him unless you're a spellcaster and you need him to hold aggro. We're going to be attempting to do a blood loss sort of thing here, and he will just make it harder to build up blood loss. So we drink our Physic Flask. We do Oath of Vengeance from the Grafted Blade Greatsword. We cast Blood Flame Blade, and we walk forward. And our buffs won't run out during the cutscene. So the tools we've gathered for this moment. We have Wild Strikes on a blood loss weapon on the Morningstar. We're going to augment its blood loss with Blood Flame Blade. We'll use Margit's Shackle to make 2 openings in his first phase where we can just wail away with Wild Strikes to build up blood loss and stance damage. Then we stack Radagon's Scar Seal and the Strength Knot Crystal tier to let us use Oath of Vengeance to buff everything. And a heavily upgraded and effective Ash of War and Lutel the Headless. And now we get to put all those pieces together. So as soon as this cutscene ends, you want to get up close to him and use the shackle to bind him to the ground. I mess up and cast Blood Flame Blade when I do this. You should just be pressing L2 and wild striking him, but you really want to get in that heavy attack to do a lot of stance damage. Then shackle him again, repeat. Hit him with the lights, heavy follow-up, that'll stance break him, and then you can wild strike him again, and just like that, you've taken away like 2/3 or more of his health. Now, start of the second phase. Summon Lutel the Headless, and let Lutel draw a little bit of aggro here. And now it's kind of a relatively standard boss fight here. You're going to let your summon hold aggro, just come up behind him, and boom. Margit the Fell is dead. And we get our talisman pouch as our reward. So, he is pretty easy if you take your time and you get the tools to defeat him. I think it took me 5 hours of time to run up there and gather all that stuff, roughly, something like that. But, it was worth it because I got to explore this world. So I hope people enjoyed this series on the long-form way of how to meet Margit the Fell. I'll probably also do like a Bad at Elden Ring boss guide on him just for people who don't have the patience for this. But thanks for watching this series. I hope this was fun and interesting. May continue it at a later date, but we'll see. I'll take a little break for now. Like and subscribe. I still fucked it up on the last one there. Like and subscribe if you feel like it, and comment as well.